Picture this. You are sitting in a sterile, fluorescent-lit classroom. You have a number 2 pencil in your hand, and you are staring down at a bubble sheet for a standardized test mandated by a federal bureaucrat hundreds of miles away. For over a century, that was the quintessential American educational experience. The factory model. Everyone learns the same thing, at the same time, at the same pace, regardless of who they actually are. But what happens when that entire system is completely dismantled overnight? What happens when we strip away the state and federal executive mandates and hand the reins over to an artificial intelligence that knows your brain better than you do?
It is a staggering paradigm shift, really. We are talking about the total collapse of the one-size-fits-all education system, replaced by something hyper-personalized and entirely self-directed. The old model was designed during the Industrial Revolution to create compliant factory workers. It was top-down. The state decided what you needed to know to be a functional citizen. Now, we are looking at a reality where the curriculum bends to the student rather than forcing the student to bend to the curriculum. It is a level of bespoke education that used to be reserved for absolute royalty, now democratized by algorithms.
And the entry point to this new world is fascinating. It all starts with a single comprehensive assessment, but this is not your grandfather's SAT. This is not about memorizing historical dates or proving you know the Pythagorean theorem. It is an inclination test. How exactly does this AI figure out what a student is actually meant to do with their life?
That is where the technology gets incredibly sophisticated. The AI is not just testing for retained knowledge. It is evaluating cognitive elasticity, problem-solving styles, frustration tolerance, and natural curiosities. A student interacts with a series of dynamic scenarios. Maybe they are asked to optimize a supply chain in a simulation, or maybe they are given a piece of broken code, or perhaps they are presented with a complex interpersonal conflict. The AI watches how they think, not just what they know. Within hours, it maps out a highly accurate psychological and cognitive profile. It identifies the student's natural inclinations and instantly categorizes their optimal career trajectories into broad, highly functional tracks: corporate leadership and management, information technology and engineering, or modern union and skilled trade positions.
It sounds almost like a digital sorting hat from Harry Potter. You put it on and it says, you belong in information technology. But once that inclination is discovered, the real magic, or perhaps the real machinery, kicks in. The AI essentially becomes a lifelong, individualized GPS for your career. If a student is flagged for the union track, for example, what does their educational journey actually look like from that point forward?
The GPS metaphor is perfect because, just like a GPS, the AI recalculates in real time. If a student shows a high aptitude for spatial reasoning and hands-on mechanical problem-solving, the AI immediately pivots them away from the traditional generalized high school curriculum. There is no more forcing this kid to struggle through abstract calculus or memorize 18th century European history if it does not serve their path. Instead, the AI curates a self-directed course load focused on advanced metallurgy, robotics maintenance, electrical grid engineering, and union standard safety protocols. The student learns through virtual reality simulations and localized apprenticeships. The AI monitors their progress daily, accelerating the modules they grasp quickly and finding new, creative ways to explain the concepts they struggle with. By the time they are 18, they are not just holding a generic piece of paper. They are a highly specialized, union-ready professional.
That level of efficiency is almost dizzying. It completely eliminates the wasted years of wandering through college undeclared, racking up massive student debt while trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. Take the corporate track, for instance. I imagine an AI guiding a natural-born manager would start feeding them modules on behavioral economics, negotiation tactics, and organizational psychology while they are still teenagers. They would enter the workforce with the strategic mindset of a seasoned executive.
Exactly. And the same goes for the IT track. A student with a natural affinity for logic and systems does not need to wait until a university computer science program to start building neural networks. The AI will feed them coding languages, cybersecurity protocols, and algorithmic theory at whatever pace their brain can handle. Some of these kids could be writing enterprise-level software by the time they are 16. The sheer economic output of a generation educated this way is almost incalculable. We are talking about closing the skills gap permanently.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment, because while this sounds like a utopian vision of hyper-efficiency, it also raises some massive red flags. There is something deeply unsettling about an algorithm telling a 14-year-old who they are and what they are going to be. Are we not just replacing the rigid tracks of the State Board of Education with the invisible, deterministic tracks of an algorithm? What happens to the late bloomers?
That is the most critical philosophical question of this entire transition, the danger of algorithmic determinism. If the AI tells you at age 12 that you are destined for middle management in the corporate sector, does that become a self-fulfilling prophecy? The system claims to be self-directed, but the menu of options is being curated by a machine. However, proponents of the system argue that the AI is not static. Because it constantly monitors your engagement, if you suddenly develop a passion for coding at age 17, the AI detects that spark and seamlessly bridges your corporate curriculum into an IT curriculum. It is fluid.
Fluid, yes, but who is writing the rules of that fluidity? This brings up a massive societal concern. If education is no longer directed by elected officials or public boards, but by an AI, who programs the AI's priorities? Let's say the national economy is facing a massive shortage of skilled union labor welders, electricians, infrastructure builders. Is there not a profound temptation for the creators of this AI to subtly tweak the algorithm? To suddenly find that a few extra million kids just happen to have a natural inclination for the union track?
You have just hit on the darkest potential consequence of this model, the illusion of free will in a highly optimized society. If the AI is connected to macroeconomic databases, which it would have to be to ensure these kids are getting jobs, it might start optimizing not for the individual's ultimate happiness, but for the labor needs of the market. It could gently nudge a student who is on the fence between IT and trade work toward the trade work, simply because the corporate sector already has enough programmers that decade. We trade the bureaucratic inefficiencies of the old federal system for a hyper-efficient, slightly dystopian alignment of human capital. The student feels like they are making choices, but the AI is playing chess 5 moves ahead, quietly steering them toward a pre-approved economic slot.
It is the ultimate invisible hand. And what about the concept of a well-rounded citizen? The old state-directed system was deeply flawed, absolutely, but its foundational philosophy was that everyone in a democracy should share a baseline of knowledge. Literature, civics, history, art. If an AI is hyper-focusing a student purely on IT or corporate or union skills, do we lose the shared cultural context that actually holds a society together? Are we just breeding highly efficient worker bees who have nothing to talk about with each other at a dinner party?
That is the hidden tax of extreme specialization. When you remove the state mandate for a liberal arts foundation, you risk creating a deeply fractured society. The IT specialist and the union tradesperson might as well be speaking different languages. However, the counter-argument is that the old system forced a shared culture, but resulted in mass disengagement. Students were bored. Now, the AI can actually weave those civic and cultural lessons into the specialized tracks. For the IT student, history is taught through the evolution of computing and cryptography. For the corporate student, literature is explored through the lens of human motivation and leadership. The AI does not necessarily eliminate the humanities. It contextualizes them to fit the student's primary inclination.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Sneaking the vegetables into the algorithmic smoothie. It really does feel like we are standing on the edge of a fundamental redefinition of what it means to learn. We are moving from a system of mass production to a system of mass personalization. The friction, the boredom, the one-size-fits-all frustration all of it smoothed out by an AI that acts as a tireless, infinitely patient personal tutor.
It is the ultimate realization of human potential, stripped of institutional drag. When a student is truly engaged, when they are learning exactly what their brain is wired to comprehend, at the exact speed they need, the concept of dropping out becomes obsolete. Why would you rebel against a system that is perfectly contoured to your own mind? The shift from state-directed to AI-directed education fundamentally solves the engagement crisis. It prepares individuals for the realities of the corporate, IT, and union landscapes with surgical precision.
But it leaves us with a lingering, almost haunting thought. As we hand over the keys of human development to artificial intelligence, we are gaining unprecedented efficiency, zero student debt, and guaranteed career alignment. But we have to ask ourselves, when a machine can look into your mind, calculate your maximum utility, and build a perfect, friction-free path for your life, are you still the author of your own destiny? Or have we simply built the most comfortable, personalized, and invisible assembly line in human history? That is the question the next generation will have to answer long after the AI has graded their final assessment.